Welcome back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt. I'm looking a little bit like Nostradamus this morning in the 2016 book by Robert C. O'Brien. I wrote the introduction, and I said in there, don't be surprised if O'Brien emerges as a key voice and guiding hand of a new and serious National Security Council in the West Wing or at the Department of Defense or State in 2017. In fact, he went to State in 2018, so I was a little bit off. He is now the National Security Advisor, and his very good friend and colleague in national security studies, former Missouri Senator Jim Talent, their idea of a good time is sitting around and talking about throw weights, and fleet architecture. That's really, if those two guys get together, an hour and a half later, they'll be talking about cruisers and whether or not you can bring these ships out of the mothballed fleet. Senator Talent, good morning. Welcome. What do you think of the O'Brien pick?
I agree with you entirely. I think it's an outstanding choice, and I'm looking forward to I'll just say it, I'll make a prediction, the best national security advisor we've had in a long time, and somebody's going to operate on the classic model, which is, look, it's a staff job, a very important staff job, but a staff job, and the main function is to organize the inputs from the national security principles to the president to make sure options are worked up and ready, and he can make the decisions on a timely basis, and the decisions will be carried out. And I expect Robert to take hold very, very quickly.
Now, over at the New York Times, Jonathan Stevenson, an Obama-era national security advisor, said the headline is Trump's national security yes man is in for a bumpy ride. He scored O'Brien for lacking experience. And I said that's just ignorance masquerading as expertise. They don't know O'Brien. And, I'm not a national security expert, but I know lawyering. And if you run big law firms, you get skill sets about vast numbers of competing egos, ambitions, and agendas. If you're a complex litigator, you know how to present complex fact situations in a comprehensible package to everyone. And you got to be fair and have integrity if you're going to be, as you said, along classic lines. I just think Jim Talent, the left, always does this. If they don't know something, they substitute. They think they're expert about the ignorance that displays. It just drives me crazy.
Yeah, it really does. I think the fact that I did a column, it's on NR now. I tweeted it out. I think it's an advantage that Robert is not going in already assigned to one camp or the other in foreign policy. He's going to bring a fresh perspective, and you're absolutely right. I mean, he spent his whole life developing the skills to learn his brief quickly, to understand what you have to know and don't have to know to make a decision, and to present it in a way that makes the decision equities very clear. In other words, and that's what the job requires. I mean, you have to be an honest broker among the very strong-minded principles of principal leaders and statutory principles in national security. So I think this is an appointment that Gina Haspel and Mike Pompeo and Mike Esper are going to be very enthusiastic about, and it's going to tighten the team up. We'll see. The proof will be in the pudding. But, they had to find some way to attack him, and I guess that's what they're going to try and do.
I like your comment in the National Review column. The NSA isn't in the national chain of command. The National Security Advisor doesn't sign orders or execute the law. He has no direct legal authority except over his own subordinate staff in the White House. In fact, it was only with the advent of Henry Kissinger and the Nixon administration that people in Washington even paid much attention to who the NSA is. Again, historic illiteracy and a lack of knowledge about the center right drives this. How would you describe O'Brien's expertise to people, Jim Talent?
Well, he has as you know, he has a very wide-ranging knowledge of people and also of different of foreign policy in areas around the world because of the various platforms in which he served, including this latest one, the Special Envoy for Presidential Hostages, on which he did extremely well. In other words, he knows how to organize to get people to do what is constructive in the interests of the United States, which is, again, the nature of that job, okay? So, plus which, in terms of his policy, the one consistent thing Robert's always stood up for is what you said at the beginning of the interview, which is peace through strength. We need to be strong. The tools of power need to be strong, beginning with an armed forces that is capable of deterring aggression around the world. So he is going to bring that point of view. But he identifies with his boss in that respect. I mean, that's the basic aspect of Trump's foreign policy. So I don't anticipate any problem there.
Big fan of the 355-ship Navy that Trump outlined. But tell me, last question, Jim Talent. Mike Pompeo strongly supported, probably pushed through the O'Brien selection. What does it say that the Secretary of State is pushing for someone?
Well, particularly in this administration, because Pompeo's been such a leading figure, I think it means it means he has an even better chance of succeeding. Because remember, the object of the job is to organize the inputs into the president, make sure everything's worked up so that the president has options and can make timely decisions. And to be able to, you have to be able to get along with these people. In other words, you can't be a toady for him, but you have to be seen by them as an honest broker. And I think Robert goes in being seen that way. Now, I love John Bolton, and I agree with him, but he wasn't seen that way, and I think that was a part of the problem.
Jim Talent, follow him on Twitter at Jim Talent. Go read his National Review essay. I'll be right back, America. Hour number 3. Chuck Todd weighs in at the top of the third hour of today's Hugh Hewitt Show. Thank you, Jim.